Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, July the 19th, 2017, show number 1142. Thank you guys very much for joining me, whether you're tuned in live in the IRC chat room or whether you're listening in via the archive. Thanks very much for listening into the show, as always. My apologies for last week's show, not having a show last week. One of the problems of riding a motorcycle as much as I do is I put so many miles on it, I have to go in for maintenance on a almost bi-monthly basis. And because this maintenance cycle came in the middle of the summertime, my local shop was just swamped. And so I basically had a standing order from them to say, you know, whenever you had a cancellation, give me a call and I'll bring the bike in. And they did, unfortunately, but it was Wednesday afternoon. And I knew I couldn't get all the way into the bike shop and then back here in time for the show, so my apologies for that. $400 for just regular maintenance. Just change the spark plugs, change the oil filter, check all the lights and bulbs and that kind of stuff. But it was because it takes 3 hours to get at the engine, basically. An hour and a half to get all the stuff off. You know, you guys who have cars, you just flip that metal bit up and there's your engine. But a motorcycle, the kind I have, all these plastic bits on the side have to be taken off very, very carefully, or they break and don't go back on. So yeah, it was the oil and spark plugs. It was less than $100, but it was the taking apart the plastic bits and putting them back on. That was so. If I could do that stuff, I could change the spark plugs, I could change the oil, I could change the oil filter. That I can do. I'm not that incompetent. But I wouldn't even attempt to try and pull the plastic off, because I've seen the little plastic. They don't use screws. They use these little plastic tabs. And if you break the tabs, the plastic bits don't go back on. So I'm not even going to attempt to shade tree mechanic the bike. Monty says for $400 I'd learn how to change my own oil and spark plugs. Yeah, like I said, I can do that stuff. But it's the pulling the plastic bits off that I know I can't do. And it's not something I can put off either. You know, you got to change the oil on a regular basis. You got, especially as much as I ride. I don't want to ever take a chance on ruining the bike by not changing the oil properly or on the right schedule. So, unfortunately, that's what happened last week. On tonight's show, as always, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Not a lot of Mac news going on. It feels like this is the calm before the storm, before High Sierra comes out, before iOS 11 comes out, before the new phones come out in September. So this feels like we're just building up to a whole lot of stuff coming up in the fall. There's not a lot of news going on today, but there's a couple stories we posted up on The Loop this week about earphones and headphones. So headphones that go over the ear, and then the earphones that insert themselves into your ear. And I want to talk to Jim about, is there any inherent benefit, advantage, or disadvantage? Some people just have a preference. Some people just like over the ear. Some people like in ear. But is there a sound quality difference? I'm going to talk to Jim about that. If you have any questions about that kind of stuff, send me emails, as always, to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Love getting emails from you guys during the show or during the week, if you so choose. And then later on in the show, in our starting point photography segment, we're going to talk about shooting action, how to shoot things that are moving quickly, kids running, horses, cars, that kind of stuff. There's a couple of techniques I'm going to talk to you guys about with regards to how to shoot action, a couple of settings you can use on your camera where you can help you nail those action shots. I was saying earlier in the pre-show that and Monty thinks this is a bit creepy, and it is, but it's not. The cute girl, as she shall now be known, has a 12-year-old son. Wonderful kid, wonderful, smart kid, very imaginative. So I thought I wanted to. I haven't done this in 15 years. I wanted to be the dungeon master for a Dungeons & Dragons game. Dungeons & Dragons is a role-playing game. You choose a character, you choose characteristics of that character, you choose the race, the gender, the occupation, a fighter, a thief, a magician, a cleric, that kind of stuff. And then you go on this adventure. But it's all in the mind. The 12-year-old and his friends are they love Xbox, like all 12-year-olds do. They love their iPads. They love their iPhones. I was wondering if I could capture and keep the attention of these boys with a game that's only in the imagination. For those of you who have never played Dungeons and Dragons, there's no screens, there's no pictures to look at, there's nothing. It's all in my description of the game and your reaction to my descriptions. So it's all talking, it's all thinking about the game. And I said I haven't played it in more than 15 years. And the last time I played it, friends of ours, Sly and I, and two of our friends, I can't remember their names. I want to say one of the girls' name, the woman's name was Joanne, I think. I don't remember. We'll call them Joanne and Peter. And I was talking about something along those lines, and Joanne and Peter said, "Oh, we'd love it. We've heard about Dungeons and Dragons. We want to try it." So okay, great. So I got one of these starter kits, and just a basic Dungeons and Dragons set. It's nothing special. It's got the basic dice. It's just for beginners. It's not very complicated. It's a very simple scenario to play. You're basically killing rats and squirrels. And the way Dungeons & Dragons works is the Dungeon Master is the referee, and he describes the game to you, and then you react to his description. So we're doing this. We've rolled up the characters, and we're going through this little adventure through the woods and through the dungeon, whatever it was. And unfortunately, Sly got bored. And when Sly gets bored, she goes to sleep, okay? She can't help herself. She gets bored. She's sitting up. She gets bored, and all she does is lean over a little bit. Remember those dolls that maybe your sister had when you were a kid that you laid down, their eyes would close? That's Sly. Sly gets more than 2 degrees off the vertical, and she's done. She's asleep. And so Sly's gone to sleep. That's okay. She's just lying there. And I'm still playing the game with Joanne and Peter. And so I tell them that they've opened up a door, and it's a 20 by 20 foot room. In the corner, there is a fireplace that's got a fire in it. In the center of the room is a humanoid character at a table, sitting at a table, eating. And Joanne says, well, I walk up and I talk to the humanoid character. I said, well, the humanoid character responds back to you, but you don't know what language it's speaking. And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, there are all kinds of languages in Dungeons & Dragons, and some of them you might know, some you don't. And the way you find that out, for me as the Dungeon Master, is you roll the dice secretly, and everything has a percentage chance of happening. And because they were human characters, I thought, well, the percentages of them knowing this character's language is very, very low. So, Monty, kill humanoid with sword, exactly, that's right. And so I rolled the dice, and they didn't have a chance to know what the language was. And so Joanne said, well, what do you do now? I said, well, do the other characters speak any languages that you know of? And Joanne asked Peter, and Peter said, well, I speak to the character. And I rolled the dice, and there was a kind of a chance he might recognize the language. And I said, there's a small chance that you recognize the language, but you don't really speak it. It's the language you think is Elvish. And so Joanne said, well, does Sly's character know Elvish? I'm trying to get them to work together. So I said, I don't know. Ask Sly. And so Joanne wakes up Sly, who is literally has fallen asleep. Joanne wakes up Sly and goes, Sly, do you speak Elvish? And Sly wakes up and goes, thank you very much. And goes back to sleep, and we just died. We just peed ourselves laughing. We thought that was the funniest thing in the world. Her waking up and going, thank you very much. And that was pretty much the last time I played Dungeons & Dragons, was doing that with Sly. I don't know how she woke up from a dead sleep, heard what Joanne was saying, and came up with that line in her head. Thank you very much. Sly has come up with some very, very clever lines over the years, and that was definitely way up there on the clever scale. As always, folks, if you have any comments or questions, send me emails to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com, either during the week or during the show, if you so choose, want to comment on anything that we say during the show. Always encourage folks to go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com. Right there on the left-hand side, you can subscribe to Your Mac Life. It's a free podcast. But if you subscribe for $2, $5, $10, $15, that money goes to me to pay for motorcycle maintenance and tires. I'm going to need tires again. Another 5,000 kilometers, which for me is like a month. And tires are $700 in that motorcycle. The thing is just hellaciously expensive. It's like Ferrari expensive. The problem is with motorcycle tires, they don't last nearly as long as car tires. I get 15,000 kilometers, which is, 12,000 miles out of a set of tires, and that's being gentle with them. So, in another month, I'm going to have to buy new tires. Sly says, as you can tell, I enjoyed D&D so much. Arcsign says, Dungeons & Dragons have zombie hordes or playable zombie characters. I think nowadays it probably does, Arcsign. I don't think it has playable zombie characters. Think of Lord of the Rings type characters. There's orcs and hobbits and elves and humans and dwarves and that kind of stuff. I don't think you can play a zombie because they're undead and they don't think. And they can't be controlled or directed. So I don't think there's playable zombies. There are what are called NPC or non-player characters. And you might get zombies in those, but I got to assume that they're just undead and you got to kill them. Monty says, the cool thing about D&D is that it has anything you can dream up. If you want a zombie horde, you can make one appear. The Mosquito says, back around 1980, zombies would have been just non-player. Yeah, there probably still are non-player characters because it's just the nature of zombies. I don't think you can have a zombie interacting with other characters, with elves and dwarves and humans in a way that would make the game work very well. So, but you can certainly have zombies as monsters in the game and attacking. I'm sure they have those. They have vampires in the game. They've got all kinds of weird, wonderful creatures in the game. Later on in the show, we're going to be talking about shooting action. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and some camera settings on how to be able to capture things that are moving quickly. Kids, cars, birds, whatever it might be. Things that are moving fast. We're going to talk about shooting action shots later on in the Starting Point Photography segment. But up next, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is, as always, your Mac Life. Welcome back to Your Mac Life, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here on this Wednesday evening. In our phone now, we've got our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Nice start to the show, man. What the hell was that?
I was getting a beer out of my shopping cart.
Shopping cart, that's right. It feels like there's not a whole lot of Mac or Apple or iPhone news coming out in the last couple of weeks. I think it feels like I said earlier, the calm before the storm, before High Sierra comes out and before iOS 11 comes out. Are you still running the beta of either of those pieces of software?
Both.
It seems pretty stable from what I understand, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's always problems in beta software, and I certainly wouldn't recommend that anybody install it. But yeah, it's pretty stable.
Are you running it on your everyday machines or everyday iPhones, or are these backup devices?
My everyday iPhone, because remember I got drunk and put it on there. So.
That's right. No major issues?
No, not really. I mean, again, everyday beta software stuff,
Yeah.
could be
Usual
lesser battery life, and, crazy stuff happens every once in a while. But for the most part, it's very stable,
Cool.
very good.
That's good to hear.
And the Mac too. I have a number of different Macs, so I have it on one of them.
Yeah.
And it's working very well. Twitter quits every 5 minutes, but
Yeah, but you use the native Twitter client too, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, that thing just sucks regardless. There's nothing good about that.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, that's right. So that's sometimes you can't blame the beta. You got to blame the Twitter software itself. I posted a story up on the Loop, I think over the weekend, about in-ear headphones and whether or not they were getting custom molds were a good thing or not. And it got me thinking about these over-the-ear headphones. The folks who are watching the video now can see me wearing these, what they call cans in the industry, but the over-the-ear headphones versus in-the-ear headphones. Now, except for personal choice, is there anything that is, by its nature, inherently better with over-the-ear versus in-ear?
Well, I think it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Really? And where you get them.
Sorry, what was that?
It depends on where you get them and what you're going to do.
What do you mean where you get them?
Well, if you get a crappy pair of headphones, then no, they're not going to be any good.
Let's assume that you've got a good quality set of headphones along with a good quality set of earphones. Are they the equivalent except for personal preference?
Still, that's no. You can't. We've talked before about in-ears.
Yes.
And, in-ear headphones have the ability to all headphones, I guess, with loud noise, they have the ability to actually hurt your hearing.
Yes.
So, it's kind of crazy when you. I mean, if I'm going out to listen to music,
yes,
I'll put in my in-ears. I just don't like walking around with those big things on my head, and I would never walk around with a set of Beats.
Just in general principle.
Yeah, just because I have more respect for myself and my hearing than to listen to Beats headphones.
They don't have a good reputation, do they?
No, rightfully so. They suck.
They're very stylish, depending on your sense of style. But yeah, from an audio perspective, they just have not had good reviews from anything I've ever read, which is surprising to me that after Apple's owned them now for 3 years now, that the reviews are still pretty much the same as before Apple bought them. The quality of those headphones has not gotten better.
No, and I don't expect it ever will.
Why not? Why would I see? It's surprising that you would say that, because I fully expect them to get better. I would demand they would get better now that they're owned by Apple.
No, I think Beats continues to run as its own separate little company.
Yeah.
And they continue to make shit.
So MacMan says Apple bought Beats for Young and Iovine, and I agree with that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that Apple can't make Beats headphones sound better.
Well, I think that would take away from the core of what Apple's really trying to do.
You think?
I mean, Apple can sell those headphones on its website, whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't need to make it any better. They can just leave them as the junky headphones that they are. And, the only reason that they're successful at all is because they have so many celebrities that will do commercials and stuff for them.
True.
And, that's what they tried to do with Apple Music. And
the other aspect about Beats that makes me think that Apple isn't going to make any changes to them is that, in general, Apple's own in-ear earpods don't sound very good either. In my opinion, are AirPods a better quality sound than the earpods?
Well, than the earpods. I find that there is a little bit of a difference in the sound that I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
But I like the quality of the AirPods for what they are. They're a consumer level set of Bluetooth headsets.
Jim, wherever you are, get away from it. You broke up. We didn't hear any of that stuff. Go to the other side of the bridge pillar.
All right. How's that?
That's better. Now, what were you saying about AirPods versus earpods?
I'm saying about AirPods that I like AirPods for what they are. They're a consumer set of Bluetooth headphones, and I think for that purpose, the convenience of them and the way that the Bluetooth and everything works, I think they're great. Now, if I seriously want to sit down, I wouldn't mix a song on them.
Yeah.
I would mix a song using my big headphones, the AKGs that I have, or I also mix, on monitors, and I also mix on my in-ears. So, after you're done with mixing, then you have to play it on all kinds of different things to make sure that it sounds good.
Yep.
So I would never use a set of Beats for that. I wouldn't even use Beats to test out the mix to see if it sounded okay, because it wouldn't.
MacMan in the IRC chat room says, I bought a pair of Power Beats 2 Bluetooth earbuds for $40 on clearance. They're decent for $40 headphones, but I'd be pissed off if I paid the full $200.
Right.
I think that's the thing with Beats, and I think also the earpods and the AirPods. Expectations. These are not audiophile quality items. These are consumer level, in my mind, average, ordinary, everyday sets of listening devices. And for some people, they're going to be fine. For others, they're going to suck.
That are in no way are worth $600.
No, God, no. Is there...
Did you see those ugly ones today?
I was just about to bring that up, too. Jim posted a story up on the Loop. It said, now new Beats headphones are ugly. And so I saw the headline. I go to the story to read the comments. I read the comments. I go, well, what are they talking about? And I go to the website, the Beats website. It's like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Those are the most horrid things I've ever seen.
Why the weird color scheme of them? This strange mocha brown and the pseudo gold on them. That has got to be the zooniest set of headphones I've ever seen in my life. And these are $600.
$600.
They're still going to sound like crap, folks, but now they look like crap too. Bravo, Apple. Bravo.
Yeah.
They're just
they're
awful.
Hideous.
They really are.
Well, that's what I said. I'm assuming that Johnny and the design team are on vacation.
That's right.
And they decided to put them out now. Johnny's going to come back and there's going to be a set on his desk or something as a gift.
It's got to be. It's weird and a little bit embarrassing, I think, for Apple to have all this other stuff that goes so well, and yet in this instance, there's this whole division of the company that makes a shitty product. It not just sounds shitty, but it looks shitty now too.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
We can all hear you slamming shit around.
Oh my God.
Just sit quietly.
Oh God, I can't. Jeez.
Oh,
fine.
As Mosquito says, it sounds like you're running a shell game, dude. All we hear is clanking all over the place.
All right, fine.
Now, the next thing, the other article, the article I posted about custom fit earphones, audio nirvana or a waste of money. What's your first impression on that subject?
That and is the biggest one. It depends on where you get them.
You are a giant fan of the Ultimate Ears, aren't you?
No.
I thought you liked the Ultimate Ears headphones or
no
earbuds.
No.
What are the ones you
Never.
like?
Futuresonics.
I'm sorry, Futuresonic. And those are the custom fit ones, right?
Oh yeah.
How did you get the?
Those are really good.
How did you get the fitting done? Where and how much?
I went to an audiologist.
Mm-hmm.
I've had. So there's two ways that you can do it.
Yep.
So you can go get a set of custom molds for your ears.
Yes.
And then you can buy earphones from like Futuresonics that just kind of plug into those custom molds.
Yes.
Or you can send your molds, your ear. They're about $1,000 that are made from those molds. So when you get them, it's hard plastic, and that's what you put in your ears. And it's a mold of your ear. They will not fit anybody else.
But they will also not fit any other earbuds either, will they?
No, that's it. That's what you get is the headphones.
Yep.
I mean, the headphones are built into the mold.
So you can't
go to the Futuresonics website.
Yep.
Futuresonics owns the trademark for ear monitors. They are the original in-ear monitors.
Yes.
They are the best in the world at what they do.
They the website sucks. It needs a flash player. What the hell's wrong with you guys? Jesus. I've used the Etymotics ones in the past, and I like those because they're a custom fit. But unlike the Futuresonics, you can swap them among different sets of earphones too.
Yeah, and you know what else?
What?
They suck.
They don't suck. They're not bad. I like them.
They absolutely suck.
I disagree.
Well, until you have heard Futuresonics, you have not heard. And, as much as Beats sucks, that's how good Futuresonics
That's all. Yeah, there's no doubt Futuresonics is the best of the best. I'm not going to argue with that with you at all. I used to have a set many, many years ago, and they were amazing. The thing about this kind of earbud stuff is if you don't mind sticking things in your ears, when you get this custom mold, it blocks out a lot of the external sound. So as Jim said earlier, you don't have to raise the volume up as high as you normally would, but you do anyway. But you hear sounds from your music that you didn't hear before.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was listening to Wish You Were Here.
Yep.
Pink Floyd.
Yep.
And my new set of Futuresonics happened to come that night. And I cracked them open, put them in, and started listening to the song that I was already listening to, Wish You Were Here. Rewound it to the beginning, and I heard David Gilmour breathe right before he started playing the guitar.
Yeah.
I had listened to that song since the 70s and had never heard that. It was the exact same recording that I listened to before.
Yep.
It was just insane. And there's it allows the natural sound of the song to come through. So you have this natural reverb going on. You have all of this stuff that's happening in the song. And when you put on another set of headphones, it's actually disappointing.
Yeah.
Because what you hear in another set of headphones is noise.
Yeah.
And that's not what you hear with Futuresonics. So Futuresonics has two different products. One is like $1,000, $800 to $1,000, depending on what kind of mold you get.
Yep.
And the other one, I think it's the G3. It used to be Atrios. They're about $200, $250. So they do have a more consumer level product, but I would buy these over anything on the market.
Yeah.
I really would, and I have. So, yeah, when you talk about atomonics and you talk about ultimate ears and you talk about all of this, the guy that started Future Sonics is the original. He's the one that helped them get off the ground. But then they started doing all this. Well, we have, 3 drivers in there in the headphones to make it sound better. But it doesn't. It doesn't. It hurts. It hurts your ears. Physically will hurt your ears.
Is it an issue of is our disagreement an issue of price? Because at $1,000, the Future Sonics better sound damn amazing. Whereas
they do.
Whereas the Atomotics are under $100, not including the custom ear mold. So can we cut Atomotics some slack for that?
No.
All right. Okay.
No, you're asking me if it's really good to have in-ears, and I say yes, if you get the right in-ears.
Yeah, true.
So if you just want a piece of garbage, I mean, you might as well just go buy Beats. Go get that $40 Beats headphones.
Mosquito says, custom earphones look like someone spit out a piece of chewing gum. They don't look like, from a distance, they can look that way, but who cares how they look? It's what the sound is that's important. And for me personally, one of the reasons why I love custom earphones is because I ride a motorcycle, and a motorcycle helmet has to fit fairly snugly around your face. There are ear holes, just like on a set of headphones. There's space for your ears, but to get your ears into that space is an awfully snug fit. Apple's EarPods never worked for me. I couldn't wear my helmet. AirPods, I haven't tried them, and I can almost guarantee AirPods would fall out as soon as I pulled my helmet on. So having a custom mold I can put in that sits flush to my ear canal means I can pull the helmet down over top a whole lot better than anything else. That's why I like custom molded earphones.
Now, see, I don't know that those will work the way that you think they'll work, because if you just get a custom mold and then get some of those things that you stick into the mold, they're going to stick out from your ear.
Depends on where they're coming out of. The ones that I got from Atomotic, because I had the Atomotic guy do the ear mold. I think it was at CES. They were doing molds at CES. I told them this, so they've got theirs coming down from the bottom of the mold as opposed to coming out from the side of the mold, sticking out of your ear kind of thing. Their wiring comes down as opposed to coming out.
Does that make them suck less?
I like the sound of Atomotics. I gotta say, for $200, I think they sounded very, very good.
And then you have to go try the $200 set of Future Sonics, right, and you'll be amazed.
I'll send them an email and ask them if they'll send me a set, because I ain't buying another set of them because I keep losing the damn thing. That's the other downside of this kind of stuff too, is that because I don't know about you, but how many pet sets of headphones or earphones have we all lost or broken because the wiring in those things, because you stuff them in your jacket and the wires get bent and you end up breaking a wire internally. And if you've done that and you spent $200 to $500 to $1,000 on the earbuds segment, you've blown that money. Have you ever had that happen?
Never. Not with my Future Sonics. And you know why? Because if I'm going to spend $1,000 on a set of headphones, I'm going to know where they are all the time.
This is true.
I'm telling you that.
That's true. Good point.
I'm telling you that.
You're not letting the cat chew on them.
No, there's nobody that's getting near my headphones ever. So yeah, how many pairs of Apple headphones have I lost?
Oh God,
too many to count.
Yeah, no kidding.
Too many to count.
No kidding.
I mean, they're in my jacket. They fall out. And you just whatever. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But those ones, oh boy. So yes, it does matter. And they do make a difference, but only if you get the proper ones.
Yeah, folks.
I mean, if you're going to do it right.
You can go to the website loopinsight.com and check out the story from Wired Magazine about the differences in custom molding, and it's very interesting. I'm talking about just the basic custom molds versus the kind that Jim got, which is the custom one. You can go to any audiologist to do it. And the audiologist will then send it off to Future Sonics or send it off to the company, and they'll create a set of headphones specifically for you. I think a lot of it, too, depends on how important music is to you. Music is hugely important to Jim, more so than me, so his opinion about this stuff is going to be different than mine, and probably more correct, too, because music means a lot more to you than it does to me.
Well, I went on a flight at one point from San Francisco to London, and I was on a business class seat, so I had a little bit more room, and I just kind of, it wasn't one of those like beautiful sleeper things where but it was a little bit more room, so I kind of stretched out. I turned on some music, and at that point I had a set of Beats headphones because I was trying them, the Beats in-ear ones.
Yep.
I fell asleep with them in my ears for about 5 hours. And when I woke up, I thought I was going to scream. My ears hurt so bad.
Yeah. It's definitely a problem I've had too with lower quality earbuds where they actually abrade the inside of your ears. It hurts like hell.
Yeah, and it was the music too. The way that they put out the music. Yeah. So, no more.
We'll let you go on this wonderful note from our good friend Mosquito. I love how informal Jim is here. This show is his recovery from doing his other podcast where he has to sound professional. This is his family podcast where he belches at the dinner table and insults his brother-in-law's haircut. It's true, Mo. It's absolutely true. He insults my haircut all the time.
Well,
true. By the way, I said it to her on Twitter, but I want to say it to you also. Congratulations on Nicole's interview in the local paper. That was very cool.
It was very
good
cool.
For her. Good for. I didn't realize she's going for a master's in archival technology, isn't she?
Yeah.
Wow. That's big brain stuff.
Yeah, she's very smart.
So it's obvious she's adopted.
Well, she's clearly her mother's child.
No kidding.
And Michael's going for his teaching degree starting.
Wow, is he? Oh, good for him.
Yeah, he finished his 4-year program.
Oh, good for him. You're very proud.
Great. Yeah, I am.
Good to hear. Folks, we've been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. He has his own podcast up on the iTunes store. Just do a search for Jim Dalrymple, and it will show up. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk next week. See ya.
Bye.
Like I said, there's not a whole lot of full-blown Mac news going on, again, because the betas, we're all waiting for the full versions of iOS 11 and Mac OS High Sierra to come out. There's not a whole lot of news. Somebody, I didn't see the headline. Someone said, Mosquito said, this is a joke design meant to grab angry headlines and publicity before they release the one they really want to sell. He was talking about the Beats headphones. And MacMan says, so my Apple stock is up 57% since the last split. Yeah, we really need to get rid of Tim Cook. Eye roll. It's funny how often that story comes up because some analyst gets this bug in his head that because Tim Cook hasn't released a new iPhone, therefore he's a bad CEO and has to leave the company. Where these people keep forgetting that Apple is in a better place in every single metric than when Steve Jobs was around. The company is better off under Tim Cook than it was under Steve Jobs. From a stock market perspective, from a profit perspective, from a product perspective, from selling iPhones, which is their major product now, in every way you could imagine, the company is objectively better off than Steve Jobs. Now, you could argue that was going to happen regardless. That this was the natural path that Apple was going on, that I could be CEO of Apple and we'd still be in the same place. Maybe. But that even if that were true, it's still no reason to get rid of Tim Cook. I think Tim Cook is a fantastic CEO of Apple. I think he's the right CEO of Apple at this time, not only in Apple's history, but I think in Silicon Valley's history, in technology's history, and I would make a minor argument in American history. He doesn't do it a lot, but he does it enough to keep my interest. Tim Cook has a much stronger humanitarian side to him, public humanitarian side to him than Steve Jobs ever did. Cook has obviously come out as gay, which I don't think is a meaningful issue at all, except for the fact that then allows him to more freely push for LGBTQ, I never get the initials right, rights, both in Apple, Silicon Valley, and in America. It allows him to push for more human rights issues. It allows him to push for more environmental issues. Not his gayness, but just the fact that he is more of a humanitarian publicly than Jobs was. And we seem to not take him more seriously along these lines. But certainly I don't think Steve Jobs would have handled those aspects of this new CEO of Apple as well, as eloquently and as elegantly as Tim Cook did. I don't think maybe even Apple would even have gone down this path if Steve Jobs were still the CEO of Apple. So I think it's very, very good for Apple and arguably America that Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple right now. MacMan says, Cook coming out is also an inspiration for thousands of people. I hope so. It's a shame that we still have to feel that way. You know, I keep hoping that we can get to a point, hopefully in our lifetime, where that stuff doesn't matter. You know, the story over the weekend that the next Doctor Who is going to be a woman. Just the shit hit the fan. And it was mind-boggling that this isn't still an issue. Especially, it's a doctor. It's not Nurse Who, it's Doctor Who. Doctors can be girls too, you idiots. And by the way, the doctor is a frickin' alien. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a male. It doesn't have to be a white male. It doesn't have to be female. It could be a fish. It's an alien creature. But the fact that this still causes controversy makes me sad. There should be no controversy now in 2016, 2017, that the CEO of any company is gay. It doesn't matter. It makes no difference. It shouldn't matter that some football player is gay. But 2 weeks ago, the NFL football player retired, came out as gay. No football player has come out, no active football player has come out as gay. That's a shame. That makes me sad. It doesn't matter. It makes no difference. And yet we still get hung up on these kinds of things. Anyway. About action. There are several different ways of shooting action. There's some of it with blur, some of it without blur. And it's an artistic choice. One of the things I love about photography is how much of this stuff is about your artistic choices. So you've all seen photos of race cars that seem to be stopped. Looks like the car is parked on the track. You know the car is moving, but it looks like the car is parked on the track. Things that are moving, how they come out are always represented by shutter speed. That's the most important aspect of it. Shutter speed controls blur. The higher your shutter speed, the less blur you'll have. So when you see those pictures, it looks like a race car is stopped on the track. That's a very, very high shutter speed. Conversely, we've all seen photos of horse racing. And you see the picture of the horse is running, and they've taken a picture, and the horse's hooves are all blurry. That's a fairly slow shutter speed, probably about 100th of a second, where the horse's head will be in focus and not blurry, but the horse's other moving bits are blurry. So those are the two ends of the spectrum. The other shot you've seen a lot of is, imagine a bicycle is going through the frame, and the bicyclist is in perfect focus, but the background is all blurry. That's a technique called panning. So one of the things you want to start practicing is your actual camera holding technique. In general, in my classes, I've always said that any camera motion is death to good photography. You don't want your camera to be moving because that causes blur. But in this case, sometimes you want blur. But what you want to do is have controlled camera motion. You don't want to be jerking around in all three dimensions. You want to control how the camera is moving. So I've talked about this before, but how to actually hold a camera. And the key is to get a good grip on one side. It's one of the reasons why I like my Nikon D600, because you can see my whole hand can wrap around the camera grip. On smaller cameras like my Olympus, I can only get 2 fingers on there, so I'm not nearly as comfortable with the little Olympus. So you want to get a good grip on the camera. And then I tell folks you want to support the camera with your other hand from underneath, because when you hold it from underneath, and your elbows are tucked in, you're getting a decent platform for the camera, but you can also use your zoom like this. You don't want to hold the camera out here with your elbow pointing out in that direction, because that can get all wonky and loose. So you want to hold it in real tight, both elbows in real tight, and the camera pressed up against your forehead, kind of creating a tripod with your 2 elbows and your forehead. Now, the panning technique takes some practice. And what you want to do is you want to go out, go to the beach, go to a park, find some place where there's birds, because birds are the easiest one to do this panning technique with. And what you want to do is get in that shooter's position with your left foot facing forward and your right foot at like a 45-degree angle. So you kind of set off on an angle. You want to be able to pivot from your waist, from your hips, not moving your feet, but being able to move your upper body freely. So find a bird on the ground. Just wait for that bird to fly away. Look for, a kid who's going to scare the birds away or something like that. Just wait for that shot. And then as the bird moves, the bird flies away, you move your body from the waist. So you track the bird with your camera. That's the panning technique. And what that'll do is if you do it properly, the bird will be in focus and the background will be blurry. Another technique is, say you're at a racetrack. I'm going to take my photography group to the Hastings Park racetrack this coming couple of weeks. And one of the things that we're going to do is practice action shooting. So one of the things I tell the students is don't focus on the horses running towards you. Focus on a spot on the track, say on the rail, on the far rail, or the dirt on the ground. That's about the distance away about the distance away that where you want to shoot the horses. And then you pre-focus on that spot. And once you focus on that spot, all you have to do is wait for the horses to run into the frame. And then you can just fire off a burst of shots. In good lighting, in a sunny day, you want to have your ISO set very low. You always do that on sunny days. You want to have your aperture set to f8 or f11 is what we've always called the fire and forget aperture settings. Ideally, set your camera to shutter priority mode. That's TV on Canons, that's S on Nikons. I'm not sure what it would be on other cameras. And then set your shutter speed to, say, 1/2000th of a second. And see what kind of shot you get. And you can do this even if you don't go to a racetrack. You can go if you live near a busy freeway. You can shoot cars going past at 1/2000th of a second and seeing what kind of results you get. You take the picture at 1/2000th and see if that gives you the effect that you want. Whether you want to freeze the car in the track or whether you want to get a blur of the car. If you want more blur, you lower the shutter speed. If you want less blur, you increase the shutter speed. Simple as that. And then just practice that. Just see what happens when you shoot those cars, or those horses, or those birds at 1/200th of a second, or 1/4000th of a second. If your camera can do 0.004 of a second. As always, this stuff takes practice. You can't just expect to go to the racetrack and just nail shots of cars going by. You got to practice it ahead of time. You got to fail a lot. You've got to understand why the shot came out the way it did. Oh, it was too blurry? Well, that means my shutter speed was too slow. Or it wasn't blurry enough, which means my shutter speed was too high. Another place you can practice, especially if you have kids who are active, they play soccer or they play lacrosse or hockey or football, is go down to that field and shoot the kids. Practice taking pictures of the kids. And remember, the angle makes a difference too. So if you're shooting the kids coming head on, that's going to be a different shot than if you're shooting the kids going left to right or right to left or coming at you on a diagonal. So it takes practice. It takes practice. It takes knowing your camera. It takes knowing what the settings are. But the primary goal is shutter speed. And again, we're assuming good lighting conditions, a nice sunny day. Low ISO, 100, even less if you're in bright sunshine. F8 or F11 for the fire and forget apertures. They'll give you a decent enough background, blurry background, depending on how far away the background is. And play around with your shutter speed. Increase it, decrease it, depending on the speed of the thing that you're trying to shoot. If you have any questions about this stuff, as always, please send me emails. I love helping folks figure this stuff out. If you have any questions about shutter speed or cameras or images or things like that, send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. I got an email, Shawn, it seems to me the greatest advantage of custom molded earpieces would be to at least minimize loss. That's why I resist the AirPods. My regular iOS headphones fall out of my left ear, even if I remain completely still. I'd love to find a solution for that. Yeah, a custom molded piece would work perfectly for that. That would definitely be a solution for it. And again, you can go to your local audiologist, and they can create molds for you that you can then send off to other companies to get them to create those custom molded earpieces for you. I got a email from our friend. Make sure I get it right. Where is it? Where'd it go? Roddy Paws. David said, I finally finished listening to last week's show. You often suggest moving closer to your subject instead of zooming in when possible. I'm assuming this is mostly for beginners. I'm going to oversimplify this to keep the email from being too long. There's a significant difference between shooting a photo from a distance while zooming in versus getting closer to the subject. You know the difference, but a beginner may not. Sure, the subject may take up the same amount of space in the frame, but the background is different. I'll sometimes walk as far away from my subject as I can and zoom in to get less of the background. It also helps with depth of field. This difference is what Alfred Hitchcock exploited in Vertigo. Yeah, there's definitely, you make a great point, David. This is definitely a beginner tip. I try to teach beginners to fill the frame with the subject matter, whether it be a person's face or a dog or whatever it is. But you're right. And this is if you want to get a little more advanced, folks, you can try this yourself. It's a fairly easy thing to do. Go somewhere where there are objects at very varying distances, and then get really close to something, a kid or a water fountain or something along those lines, that's got something in the background, a playground, a tree, something you can recognize, and take that picture. And then do what Roddy Paw suggests, walk away from the image and then zoom in so that it fills the frame, you will notice a difference in the background objects. They'll look compressed and closer. Zooming in from a faraway distance compresses the background and foreground together. It makes things look closer than they actually are. It's an interesting effect of the lenses that we use. And you can use that to your own artistic advantage. Roddy Paws is right. This is a little bit more of an advanced technique and not something I teach students, because at beginner level, I want them to focus on filling the frame with something. I want them to focus on walking to moving to take images as opposed to using your zoom to take an image. But you make a good point, Roddy Paws. He goes on to say, you mentioned the woman taking a photo of a dog. Personally, I prefer candid shots. So when I'm shooting an image of a dog, I'll usually take a photo from where I'm already standing. I then move in some, take another image, then move in a little closer. If you just move close to the dog, he or she will almost definitely stop whatever cute thing they were doing and walk up to you, and you miss the shot. The shot from far away isn't ideal, but you're more likely to capture the moment than walking closer and miss the shot completely. It's a good point. He says, I know your photography segment is for photography and not video. I've heard you speak about the 50mm lenses in the past, and I picked one up about a year ago. I primarily shoot video, and I never use it. The f1.8 aperture is nice, but even with the dual pixel autofocus, it's really hard to keep things in focus. I often find I have to move back too far to fit what I'm shooting in the frame. I'm not saying it's your fault, of course. I was the idiot who wasn't paying attention to the fact that you're giving photography tips. Video and photos seem like they're closely related, but in many ways they are very different, and this is one of them. Thanks for the email, Roddy Paws. Appreciate that. What other emails have I gotten from you guys over the past week? Don Beck out there in Martha's Vineyards, where they actually have cell phone coverage, he says. Just catching up on YML. I was visiting Montreal, but more on that later. You asked about our memories with the iPhone launch 10 years ago. I just didn't get it. I'd gotten my first cell phone a year before. We were traveling and my granddaughter was about to be born, and we wanted to know about it right away. It was a Motorola flip phone, nothing special, but it was a phone. I've been watching the rumors and then watched Jobs' keynote announcing the iPhone, but I just didn't get it. I've been following Apple since my first computer, a Mac 128 in 1984, and I wanted to get excited about it, but I just didn't get it. A friend of mine had bought one for his daughter and told me that they were able to surf the web while driving to a family reunion from Massachusetts to Delaware. And that sounded interesting, but I still didn't get it. Don says, a few years later, when it was definitely time to replace my flip phone, I was looking at smartphones, but the added cost of the iPhone's data plan strongly made me consider other options. I just about made up my mind when my wife gave me permission to spend the family's more money and go the extra step and go Apple. We bought the latest model, an iPhone 3G. I finally got it, Don says. We now talk about life before and after the iPhone. Of course, now all of our family members are on much newer iPhones. But for some reason back then, as I've said, I didn't get it, but now I do. I enjoyed listening to your and Jim's memories and experiences of the introduction. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for the email, Don. I appreciate that. Got an email from Wayne Lacombe. Wayne says, just a quick note following my donation today and let you know how much I enjoy the show. There are a number of reasons why. Your coverage of Apple products. I've been slowly migrating from the Windows world and will probably complete the move when the next iPhone is available. I'm slowly getting into photography when time permits. I bought a Nikon D5500 last year and love it. Your photography tips and tricks are really informative. Your interaction with Jim really puts a smile on my face and gets me chuckling. Good. While I live in Australia, I love Canada. My uncle migrated to Canada about 40 years ago on a teacher exchange program, and he and his family have lived in Squamish, BC most of that time. I visited Vancouver and Squamish a number of times, hope to get back soon. So hearing you talk about where you live brings back memories. I've been lucky enough to work in Canada a couple of times, 6 months in Montreal and 6 months in Kitimat. Love the place. Wayne Lacombe in Australia. Wayne, thanks very much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Speaking of which, I want to say a big shout out and a thank you to Dave Dykestal. Dave Dykestal from Rochester, Minnesota. He and his lovely wife. So many nerds have such pretty wives. It's weird. Dave invited me out to lunch with him and Ann, and we went down to a local pub here in Vancouver, down on Granville Street, and then went for a little walking tour of the city, pointed out some historical stuff, and gave them some ideas of things to do and places to go, and then they seemed to like it. They went to Joe Forte's restaurant last night. They took the train from Toronto all the way here to Vancouver. There's unfortunately, our previous governments sold this particular train line called the Rocky Mountaineer Train Line. It's the most beautiful train ride in North America, but it cost a fortune. So it's very good. I'm glad David and Ann got to go. They're celebrating their 40th anniversary. Congratulations to David and Ann. 40 years together is a wonderful, wonderful feat, and they did the train ride across Canada for their anniversary. So good for them. Hopefully we'll get back soon. I strongly encourage them to go to my home province of Nova Scotia. They've never been out there. So if they ever want another great trip, that's the place to go, is out east to Nova Scotia, my home province. Trying to see if there's any other emails have come in. Where's my email? Why is email frozen? Uh-oh. This happens every now and then. Mail just stops. Application not responding. Force quit. Okay, I think that's a hint. Folks, it's a short show tonight because there's not a whole lot to talk about. So we're done. I want to say thanks very much, as always, to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining me here each and every week. If you have any questions, comments, statements, send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. If you have any questions about photography, again, as always, please let me know. Send me your photography questions or comments. Appreciate those. As always, I want to say thanks to you guys for being tuned into the show here each and every week, whether you're tuned in live or you're listening in via the archive. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!